So we had predetermined, since it's more of kind of like just a personal chat rather than like what the work you're doing on, over the credit union right now directly. Previously decided to talk about like the differences between B2B automation and
Hmm.
B2C, which I think could go really long ways. And then I wanted to touch on SMS too. So
Sure.
um, I put together a couple of notes, and I want you actually to tell me what I'm missing or what I'm wrong here about, because which, by the way, actually before I get into this,
Hmm.
um, Abel is an award-winning marketing automation guy. I want to make sure, and that's not like it's legit multi. So give a quick intro about you, what you've been doing, like what you do, and stuff for context.
Yeah, so I've been in marketing automation probably going on about 10 years now, 5 years in the B2B space and just about the same amount of time in the B2C space. Yeah, and I've worked on all the major platforms, Eloqua, Marketo, and even some of the more minor ones when I do some consulting. And as you said, yes, we won. I have won a Marquee Award. Well, my team has won a Marquee Award for best mobile experience, and we've also been a finalist in that 5 times as well. So the work we do, I mean, I'm really excited. Automation is just something I'm really excited and passionate about, and it's something that I love talking about, and love working with consulting and just working with people on, because it's really a great way to just drive engagement.
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, if we look at COVID world too, right? Like if you've built a brand that kind of has that engagement set in, like companies that were dependent on trade shows or events got totally blown up, right? And if like not having the work before then to have other experiences might have put them in pretty deep water. Um, awesome. So here's how I'd like to paint the B2B versus B2C stuff when it comes to automation. And I actually put automation into three different categories. So because basically it's how you apply automation to certain business models. And so the way I think of it is one bucket is a really heavy content nurture. So what this bucket would be long sales cycle B2B brands, right? Complex, like the annual contract is really high. So sales cycle might be 6 to 12 months, maybe, more. Um, Loads of people involved. And so you build uh, a lot of educational content. You build a lot of experiences that try and build trust and facilitate, moving things down the pipeline. Um, and whether that comes in form of, most people would think of like drip campaigns and stuff like that. So that's one bucket. um, the next bucket I would say is more of like a product-led automation nurture. I don't think nurturing is the right way, but my company CloudUp is a great example. So we're a freemium SaaS. I think SaaS is the most excellent example of this. So if they try and get you in, right, and then most of the automation is trying to get you to use it, trying to build habits, trying to build use cases, and really apply the product to the individual. So it's less heavy nurture. A lot of times, like in ours too, like the initial contract is small because we get people in the door. Sales cycles crazy fast for most deals, and and then as you scale up into enterprises, then it kind of becomes a different story. And then the last would be more of like the direct to consumer kind of products. I think the credit union would fall into this. I think it's easier to think of merchandise a little bit with this, right? So clothing brands, Nike, whatever, that's product led too, but and I have the least amount of experience with this, actually pretty much none, just as more of like a consumer and analyzing it. But that automation drives experiences that really try and build loyalty to the brand, right? Really experience based stuff. And then from a messaging standpoint, there's a lot of discounts and frequent product release cycles, right?
Correct.
Fall, winter, Like you're always kind of turning over inventory that you can kind of pitch. So I put those into those 3 buckets. Would you add or take away from that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the only thing I would change on that is that there are some B2C products that could probably fall into the first bucket with a longer sales cycle. You can think of something like a mortgage, or maybe even something like buying a car. Maybe it's not months and months, but people tend to do a lot of research first. Or you like in the so like with buying a car, it'd be several weeks or months. Even they may be in the market, but they're doing a lot of online research first. But then the second one would be, like something like a mortgage. It could be that, that people want to buy a house, but, I don't know, maybe they have bad credit, or maybe like, if you live where I live, the market is very hot right now. And, it's just hard to find maybe the house that you want, or you're getting outbid. And so there's, I think there can be some B2C, just some bigger purchases that you can put over in that first bucket, maybe just having a longer sales cycle. But I think that the application is the same in the sense that you talked about, it takes a lot of education. I think companies that are doing the B2C long sales cycle right are the ones that, say someone's, again, I'll use the mortgage example, say someone fills out a mortgage application to get pre-qualified, and still could be, again, depending on various issues, 3 to 6 months before they find a house. And is that organization doing a good job keeping their name top of mind, reminding them, hey, this is, don't make any major purchases while you're looking to buy a house, and things of that nature. I think there's lots of education that can go into that. Or, in the case of buying a car, again, hopefully, if they're able to capture the person's information, reminding them, hey, this is why you want to buy this car or this brand or things like that. But anyway, I think that's the only thing I'd change. But I think otherwise, I pretty much agree with what you said.
Yeah. Okay. So I had not thought of large B2C purchases. So I actually want to go in on that for just a little bit. The mortgage example makes a lot of sense to me because of the image capture. Oh my gosh, the information capturing like moment at the beginning of the process, right? That's really easy. We're in the middle of building a house, and so our mortgage guys had our stuff forever, and I have not gotten like anything automated, certainly no educational content. And he's done a couple of more personal touch stuff to keep up, but that one makes sense. The car one though is really interesting because I've been to dealerships before. You do a test drive, whatever. I've never given information, right? So I don't know if you've got an experience where maybe with like a car, right? I'm trying to think of maybe another mattress is pretty big. What else would be, like let's stick with the car example. Like, have you had any experiences with that, or like brands that are doing that part of automation well? Because I can't think of any.
I can give a personal experience, and it was a mixed bag on the automation side. So I actually did buy a car last year. The car I had been driving forever finally just gave up the ghost, and I needed a new car. And so, the first thing I did is went online and researched, and I kind of narrowed it down to a car or two that I wanted. And of course, if you've been to a car website, they're always popping up things, hey, send us some information. And, I tend not to want to do that because I don't want to necessarily, peg them too early that, I'm interested or I'm looking. But I finally decided to swallow the thing. And finally, it was like, I've got to make a decision here. And so I filled out a form. And so again, it was kind of a mixed automation experience. I did get, right away an automated email saying, hey, Abel, thanks for your interest in this car. A salesperson will be in touch soon or something. And I guess to be clear, it was on a Sunday when I filled this out. So at least, where I'm at, car dealerships are closed on Sunday. They're not allowed to open. So part of the reason I did it on a Sunday is so I could just kind of have the information, get it out there, but not be harassed in 5 minutes by a phone call or something like that.
You're jaded. You know it's coming.
Yeah, I know what's coming, and it's like I don't want an immediate thing. But it was interesting. So I got like an automated email, but then what happened the next day is that the salesperson reached out to me through text, and they were like, hey, let's schedule a test drive and stuff like that. And so whatever system they had, it notified the sales rep. So instead of actually calling me, they texted me, which I actually thought was a better way, at least for me, to engage. And again, I don't know if it was an automated text or not. It felt real, but it could have been automated. But I did get an automated text, and actually we ended up scheduling the whole thing over text messages. The whole come in and test drive this car, and so that was good in that point. I guess I said it was a mixed experience. The downside is I don't know, they put me on some kind of annoying email list for the dealership that really even after I bought the car, I wasn't getting relevant information. It was still like sales email, and I was kind of like, didn't you guys know I have bought a car, right? So should you be sending me like, hey, service emails or something else? It was still like, hey, this is our Labor Day sale. And it's like, I just bought a car. I'm not buying another car from you guys. So it was kind of a mixed bag. The initial experience was good, and all my interaction with the salesperson over text and their whole texting system was actually pretty good. But like the follow up on it after I bought the car, it was like, get me off this mailing list. I shouldn't be on here. You should know that I bought a car by now, and why are you sending me sales stuff?
Was the texting just for like the direct relationship with the sales rep, or did you end up getting marketing stuff through that too?
It was just the direct thing with the sales rep. That's
Okay.
all it was. And it was, like I said, it was good. I actually did a lot of the negotiation over text too. I went in for an initial test drive and talked to him, and then I went back to my day job and spent the afternoon just texting back and forth with the sales rep about the car. So it was actually it was for me. It was kind of a different experience, because usually you're used to going in there and haggling, and I got to go check with my manager. All those stereotypes about buying a car.
Yeah.
And I really liked the texting experience, because it let me kind of respond when I was ready to respond, and like actually think of what I wanted to say before I was. I didn't feel like someone was sitting there telling me to sign the paper or do this. It was just like, yeah, I think this is too high, and I'd send it and come back an hour later, and the person had responded. And, it was actually kind of a good experience that way.
It almost makes me wonder if the SMS stuff wasn't controlled by the marketing team. If they kept sending, if they, to your point, like they knew you had bought. So they obviously were, did a great, man, the word that I'm trying to think of is escaping my, like they had great stewardship over your personal data, at least from the phone, right? Like they didn't go crazy. It was just for the relationship. They didn't push marketing stuff or whatever. But the targeting from email was lacking. So, yes. Which I think is fascinating, because it and I'm sure we all do this in our work, right? Well, like you can do like one channel really well, and it drives an amazing experience, and like you have the right mindset in that, like you understand your audience in that channel for that mindset, and then like you completely forget the experience on like some other channel, and you're just batching and blasting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think especially in the B2C, I mean, obviously targeting is important, but especially in the B2B space, because in my mind, the biggest advantage B2C has over B2B is that typically you'll have a little more data on the person, or at least a little more specific data, right? Because B2B, it could be, well, who knows who you're dealing with? You could be just dealing with some grunt that wants to get this, like a big software package, but then you got to go through all the approval process, right? And it's just kind of it's a little bit harder to target. I think you have to be a little more broad. But like, here's another bad experience that I had. So recently, I went into, there's a Cyber Monday deal that I wanted, I went in and bought this product. I never bought a product from this a company before. It was, let's just say it was an outdoor camping kind of product service, what I mean? And so this retailer, I bought this one thing, and it was, a very specific item, and this this retailer, again, didn't have a lot of data on me, but they saw that I had purchased this specific item. So I was hoping that, when I got follow-up emails from them, they would target me that way. And it was a bad experience in the sense that I was put on, again, a general email list where it was just like, hey, we have all these offers going. It's like, what I bought, can you at least target it somewhat, or at least make the very first offer, hey, we have this great camping gear, instead of, hey, here's our hunting supplies. It's like, you have one piece of data on me. Can't you at least, use that as a starting point and kind of grow? And it was a bad experience in the sense that I felt like I was just put in a big bucket. And then even worse is just the number of emails they sent. It was like, and I understand, it was the holiday season at the time, but it was like 2 or 3 emails a day sometimes. And I was just like, get me off this list. You're trying too hard. And so, I couldn't unsubscribe from that list fast enough.
That's the trap I haven't sold. I haven't been part of a company that, from like a B2C perspective, that has like that big of a breadth of products to sell, right? But 100%, that's the trap with that. Like if you're a retailer, like an outdoors company, and you've got thousands of different products, and then you've gone into your email system and set up triggers or whatever based on purchases or page visits or whatever. If you don't keep track of that, you'll get the 3 a day. You'll get the emails that just don't matter. And that's really actually unfortunate too for an outdoor brand, because for experience-based like product selling, like outdoor is about as easy as it gets. Like you purchase a tent or a sleeping bag or some whatever, a backpack. Like from a content nurturing perspective, immediately, rather than pitching products, like there are so many pieces of content then you could deliver and serve up to make sure that they use it, that they have a good experience, that they know what the warranty and stuff like,
Right.
like that's what I would love to receive if I go into an outdoor retailer. I'm like, okay, I'm buying a new backpack. I know it's kind of on the cheaper end. And like, so I get a piece of content that says, here's how to take care of your stuff that you just bought, as opposed to, hey, like, thanks for buying the backpack, you should go buy a gun or whatever.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, and I think, again, if they have data, if they can make a case that I was looking at a gun, if I had visited some of those pages, then, they could say, well, Abel was doing this, and, maybe he's also interested in this product. So, I'd assume after I bought, they had at least had I would hope they had some web information on me, on my, on what I was doing online. But I just felt like I was thrown into a big bucket. And this was like a major retailer too. This isn't like some mom and pop store where I could be a little more forgiving, you know what I mean? Yeah. This is like a major retailer. I'm just like, who's running your automation thing? Because the whole experience was bad. And I just kind of wondered, this is my experience. And granted, I'm a little more critical because, I am in automation, but it's like, if this is the general experience, I mean, I'd love to see their email stats, what their unsubscribe rate is and stuff like that. Because, I just think a little more personalization would go a long way to make their emails more effective and, probably generate them a lot more revenue as well.
So how would you suggest like the automation team, and that's kind of like if you work for a B2C brand that has a breadth of a lot of products like that, right? Mm-hmm. How would you suggest they approach building an automation engine, whether it's through email, website stuff? Like how should they approach it?
I think it really comes down to getting as much data as you can. And I'm just not talking personal information. It's really saying, whatever, here's our 5 major categories of stuff that we sell. It's being able to put people in buckets and keeping them in that bucket until they show interest in a different product or service, until you have some information that says that, they stopped looking at tents and now they're looking at, maybe hunting gear or something like that. If you have some kind of data that can show that, then you can move them over into buckets. And part of this is from personal experience. Again, I've worked in the B2C space, again, with a company that probably has, lots of lots of products, but again, you can probably categorize all of our products into 5 or 6 different buckets. And, I think we do not a perfect job, but I think we do a pretty good job of saying, well, if this person, is in this bucket, we need to be careful about, putting them in this other bucket unless they show some, show some interest, or we have some kind of data that shows that maybe they're interested in this product. And I think, again, I think we do a good job because we have high engagement rates with our emails. We have low unsubscribe rates. But, it's just kind of finding a balance because, maybe somebody that buys a tent is interested in hunting gear, but again, how, what's the reason for moving them to a different bucket, or, is there some, just kind of just try to at least make some kind of justification instead of just saying, hey, you bought something from us, now we're going to throw everything at you because we don't know anything about you. You know what I mean? It's just, and again, I don't think anybody minds the occasional general marketing email. But again, on B2C, if you have a specific product purchase, here, I'll give you a good example. I'm a runner and I buy my shoes from a very specific a store, and it's not necessarily a big chain like Zappos or anything like that. But I get my running shoes online, and they do a very good job. I get the same brand of running shoes all the time, and their emails to me occasionally, like I'll get a big sale email that, hey, all of our running shoes are on sale. But I feel that most of their emails are very personalized to that brand that I buy, that they have data on me and they say Abel likes this brand of shoes. And so, yes, there will be times when we have big sales that we want Abel to know about, but most of the emails I get from them is hey, and it's Brooks. So that's the brand of the shoes. But most of the emails I get from them is like, hey, our Brooks are on sale, or we have new Brooks. We have these new shoes and stuff like that, or here's some new Brooks gear. Right? It's very brand specific. And so I feel like they do a very good job of saying, well, we know what Abel likes, and we're not going to send him like emails about Nike or Adidas or something like that because he hasn't shown interest in those products.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, and to be fair, like that's not an easy task, especially when you've got thousands of products, right? Figuring out
Right.
how broad or how tight to make those buckets, how much activity you have to do before you can, add them into another set. So it's certainly not easy to do.
Not easy to do, but that's the fun challenge of automation, right? I mean, that's something that I love doing. It's like, again, you're not going to be perfect in automation, but this is where an A/B test comes in. It's like, well, let's send half the people that buy tents down this path and half of them down this path, and let's see if we can start narrowing those buckets or kind of defining our audience better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so again, I don't expect every experience in the automation realm to be perfect, but
intentional.
Right. Do I at least feel like they're trying to get to know me? Again, it's not maybe a perfect experience, but with the limited data they have, are they trying to make it a more personalized experience? And again, I'll go back to that retailer thing. I wouldn't have minded it if it was a general email, if they had led, for example, with tents, right? If maybe the top thing on that email was tents, and then the rest of the email was all the other stuff that they did. But again, when you're sending me an email and you're highlighting something that I showed no interest in, and you're doing it 2 or 3 times a day, it makes me think that you're just, it's the shotgun approach, and we'll just see what sticks. And that never works in automation. I mean, that's a good way to burn your list and, just create those bad customer experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be interesting to see how personalization evolves as data security and privacy is continues to be a bigger topic. We've already got Europe and Canada with much stricter laws than what I don't know what your international experience is like, but we've got those places are much stricter. And now you've got, companies that are starting to almost create their own regulations, like Google, as far as, what you can and can't do. So as a consumer, and we're marketers, so I think we always default that believe it, privacy doesn't exist, and that's just the reality of it, and so we just want the good experience. But not everybody believes that, and so it will be interesting to see how much we are hindered in our ability to target and, present those kinds of personalized experiences based on whatever kind of behavior. Like if people have to opt into, like if it becomes law in the US that you have to opt into cookies, like, or like stuff like that, it's going to make it a lot harder.
Yeah, well, and I would say that there's probably a lot of companies out there, at least on the B2B side. Again, I can't speak, B2B, but just from my personal experience working in the B2C space, a lot of times they don't know who their I mean, at least in the industries I've worked for on the B2C side, like for example, we don't know who 70% of the people are that come to the website. They're just general
That's a good
people.
point. Yeah.
And so a lot of times you may not even, I mean, they could be returning customers and whatever, coming in off a different browser, or they've cleared their cookies recently. I think the B2C companies that are really on their game right now probably already deal with this to some degree, as far as not knowing who this person is until for example, they sign in or do, maybe buy something to then sign in at that point. So I think, I personally think more privacy regulations are coming. To some degree, to which degree, I don't know. But I think that, if I was in the B2C space or even in the B2B space, I'd be, just trying to say, well, how can we make that, what can we do right now to kind of prepare for this? What can we do? I'm sure any company in any space can say, we don't know a lot of the people that are coming to the site. So what can we do to engage these people, not knowing who they are or, anything about them?
Yeah, 100%. Like that should be an assumption pre-made. Like that what would business be like if you didn't know what 90% of your people on your website would be like, and how can you still drive personalized experiences that help, that deliver what they want to see, right? And then also, help you drive more business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and I think it's a little bit harder on the B2C side than the B2B side because most products are a short sales cycle. It's like they're coming there, they're looking for something, and if you lose them, you may not get them back.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, are you good for a couple more minutes? I actually have one more. Okay, cool. I actually wanted to kind of switch gears back to the SMS stuff and talk about what it's harder for B2B, actually, I feel like. So I've been in mostly B2B stuff and have not used, admittedly, SMS yet. A lot of that has been intentional. So like with a freemium SaaS, like if I were a consumer, I'm not wanting a text. So what would you say is SMS's role within B2B?
I think if you want to use it wisely, I think the best way to use it is in terms of like educational events or webinars, things like that. So, you have an event. I think the big challenge a lot of times when you do like an online educational event now, as most of them are, or some kind of thing, is like, how do you get, there could be people that sign up and they just kind of like, they kind of forget that they signed up, that this thing was next week. I've personally seen very good results in both B2B and B2C using text for like event reminders and things of that nature. Like, hey, you signed up for this event. It's at noon today. Here's the link, then maybe 15 minutes before. Hey, you signed up for this, do this. The other way I think it could work in B2B, and I think it might be somewhat product specific. But again, if you can just get, I guess when I'm thinking of SMS, for the most part, I'm not thinking of these, very long, where you're getting a text every day or every week or every month. It's more of, what if someone could go to your website though, and instead of maybe filling out a form or something like that, what if they could just text the word white paper or something like that to a short code, and then you could then maybe send them that information via text, and then maybe if you had an upcoming webinar on that very subject, you could say, hey, did you enjoy this white paper? We have a webinar next week on it, or something like that, and try to engage people that way. I don't see it as, like if you sign up, and I sign up, by the way, for lots of SMS services, because I'm, from the automation side, I want to see how they do it and how often they do it, and what can I learn from it. But I think again, if you can keep it very targeted to something that they're interested in, I think it's a very high engagement. I know from personal experience, once we started using SMS reminders for like webinars and education events, we saw attendance like shoot up dramatically, because people opted into this reminder, and it was really nice for them to say, oh, I can just click this on my phone and I can watch this event instead of having maybe to go to my desk and where's this email, and it was just a better user experience for them.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me from the event perspective, because that's the only place that if I'm anywhere, usually the message might still get to me. And particularly if it's opt-in, then there's no harm done. Like, it doesn't matter, like, which it should be anyways. Quite not, like, like it 100% should be opt-in anyways. And, in that respect, and then there's probably no harm. I think I agree with you as far as really effective use cases of SMS, though. It does seem, at least for me, to be more product focused. And banking's the best example. Like 2 months ago, my wife was trying to get something on like Walmart, but like the orders were whack, so she had to like split it up into 3 orders and like placed them really quick. Well, that alerted my credit card company to be like, hey, it could be fraudulent. And I got a text. So I got an email and a text, but I saw the text.
Yeah.
And I was like a huge fan of. Like, I loved it. I immediately was able to get on because it was a big deal. I've already had my identity stolen once, and to get in and check and make sure, talk to my wife, make sure it was legit. Like, that product stuff, 100% SMS is like gold, because that's driving such value from the experience.
Yeah, and I've seen it set up, like, again, you can even use it on a long tail experience where, I've set up campaigns like for mortgages, for example, or something like that, where you're not only getting email reminders, say like, you're going through the whole loan process. So, you're being reminded that, hey, your loan's gone to underwriting and things like that. You're getting various emails, just kind of status updates. But even having select text messages like, hey, we just assigned your closing. Please check your inbox or something for details. I think again, you use it selectively. Again, as you said, like something that's very product specific, something that they're already involved in. I think you'll see really good results from that.
Yeah, and again, with opt-in, and if you're like really clear in your opt-in too on like what you'll be sending, then that I think presents an easy case to test out what engagement, like what might be like with there. Because the last thing you want to do is be like half of the candidates that ran for office this past year that sent me texts, and even the phone was like, we think this is spam. right.
Yeah, well, so, yeah, it just gets annoying, right? Again, maybe a text once in a while, hey, don't forget to vote for this person. Okay, cool, that's great. But yeah, when they're like, I'm sure your experience was the same, where they're like daily or multiple times a day from different numbers, and this candidate says this says this. It's like, I don't want to be part of this. It's like, right? Yeah, it's like, yeah, and then I'm thinking, like, how did I opt into these anyway? I don't remember signing up for this.
yeah. Like, I wouldn't do this. What the heck? Yeah.
So I think SMS is powerful, especially driving engagement. But I still think a lot of companies are still learning how to do it. And if there are any B2B people out there that use it outside of maybe events or webinars or things like that, I'd be curious to know what their experience is with it. I think you can make a case for it, but again, it's more, I think right now the B2C people kind of have the advantage there, because again, people can opt in to something very specific, whether it's a car or product updates or something like that, and get it. But again, the engagement rate off text is extreme. It's way higher than email. So I think at some level, especially if you're B2B, you have to have some kind of at least some kind of minimal SMS presence where, again, the consumer can opt in to receive certain text messages. And I think, again, if you're judicious about it,
Yep.
I think you can really see some success with that.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great review. See, this has been a fun conversation. I know you're like full of knowledge with this kind of stuff, so it's fun chatting with you. You write and stuff too, so give like a shameless plug for some of the other kind of fun stuff that you do.
Yeah, so I'm an author as well, and actually my background, just so you know, is in writing. I was actually a technical writer and a copywriter before I got into automation. So it's it was, for me, it was a natural transition to not only write the email, but now I can build it and send it. It's part of the whole storytelling process, right? It's not only what are you saying, but how often are you saying it, and who are you sending this a message to? So automation was a natural transition that way. But no, I've written 7 books. I got an 8th one coming out here pretty quick. And so I've been, I love writing. I actually, so my side gig, if you want to know, I actually do a lot of relationship coaching. So I've written some dating guides. And so, just love, again, the storytelling and helping people out, and using automation in my own little side gig too, and using that very effectively as far as people coming onto my mailing list, and, reminding them about coaching sessions and things like that.
That's awesome. All right. So if you're interested in that stuff, where would they find you?
Yeah, they can go to my personal website is abelkeogh.com. That's www.abelkeogh.com.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks for the time, man. I really appreciate it. You're a model to me as far as how to implement automation stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Thanks, Michael. It's good to catch up again and see you again.
Yeah, absolutely.